Hey, you're watching Real Simple News on March 20th. It's a Friday, and today's top news story, uh, the governor of California has declared they are expecting 50% of the state of California to be infected with COVID-19, which is really, really bad because 15 to 20% of people who come down with this illness need to be hospitalized. The United States military is currently preparing a response. This article is from the New York Post. It says more than half of California's population, 25.5 million people, will be infected with the coronavirus in the span of just months, according to a projection from the state's governor. Governor Gavin Newsom shared this startling forecast in a Wednesday letter to President Trump requesting deployment of the U.S. Navy hospital ship to help handle the anticipated spike in cases. I live in Eugene, Oregon. I am actually organizing people here in Eugene, Oregon, for our COVID pandemic response to create what are called pandemic ventilators. These are basically homemade ventilators that you can make that you can use to save you or your family's life in the case of a emergency. And so if you want to see what these things look like, I think this is the design. From my understanding of electronics, I tried to make my own design. Yeah, F my design. Okay, let's be real about this. This is called the there's one of many. This here is the design. I saw it on Hackaday on another project, so we're going to share with it. What you got to do in order to save yourself and your family's life is that you need to get duct fans. You got to get. Look, we're talking about all the people that die from COVID-19. They all need respirators, and so if that's that, we're talking like 1.5% of our community possibly dying coming up pretty soon if we do not get these ventilators, because you're going to get overwhelmed. You're not going to be able to take care of all these people. Like, you're going to have to create a massive pandemic flu center in your community. I currently started a project. Okay, here, let me explain how this thing works. You got a duct fan going on. I'm an engineer. Here, I'm putting all of my resources here. We are in 24/7 emergency pandemic preparedness mode here with Cooking with Kale, my other YouTube channel. So what's going on here in this thing? We got a duct fan, and what we want to do is we want to humidity. We want humidity and oxygen in it. We want it to be at a higher. We want it to be warm. We want it to be the same kind of air that you would breathe through your nose. And so it just so happens that I make these biomimic lungs that sequester CO2. So I have I actually have a machine that's a oxygen concentrator here, machine that we can use, that you can make with a refrigerator and an evaporative cooler here. So what's going on here? We have this fan. You got to humidify the air. You have to put some oxygen in it. You have to concentrate the oxygen. We don't have enough oxygen, so we're going to be busting out the Oregon Cooler Ice Lung prototype that I have, working with ice water condensate in order to concentrate the oxygen. And it also humidifies the air at the same time. Then all you have to do is heat it up afterwards. It's an evaporative cooler with water condensate in it. So what you do in this design, we have a fan, we have a servo here. A servo, if you're unaware of what it is, it can move something back and forth like this. It's a pulse width modulation device, and it basically starts, it's the here, and then you pulse the thing, and then it goes over here, and then you up to 1, 0 to 1. It depends on how far around it goes. It might go there, might go there, might go all the way around. That's your pulse width modulation, 0 to 1. And what you got to do is you got to get a pressure sensor here. You see this feed pressure sensor? All right, what you do here, I ordered 5 of these from Amazon. We have to come up with these emergency here. We have to get pressure ventilator regulators here. And what you can do Here is the pressure regulator. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to use an atmospheric pressure regulator. What this is going to do is going to tell you how much atmospheric pressure is inside of the bag here, and then hook that up to an Arduino. And all of the code here, you can find it at github.com. I don't have the code up right now, like right now. It's not up, but it will be here at sick bay. It says _bay. I'm taking that out right now because it's sick bay, and what we're doing is we're making an open source pandemic flu hospital that you can make out of wood and supplies that you have around, that is going to be able to allow you to do things such as hang IV bags and put all of the pandemic ventilators and all of the equipment here. And this is what I'm doing for the rest of the day, for the rest of the month, until the foreseeable future. We are making these pandemic ventilators. So you got to take the servo and adjust from the output vent, the wastegate, and then the wastegate basically just goes back into the fan to get blown back in. And so this, you take the pressure sensor. This is going to then show you how much flow is coming out of it. You can then take the servo. Servo is going to watch my mouse here. Servo is going to move up and down like this between the two devices, and it's going to adjust the airflow vent rate. And then what we have to do on the output is we have to put sensors. If you can afford them, we have to put sensors to monitor vital signs of patients, such as oxygen level coming. We need to be able to get emergency response to these people immediately. So we have to put alarms on these pandemic flu beds. So please, it's going to be at kabukistarship.com. It's my open source project. This is all just open source stuff I do. It's all nonprofit. And right now it says this about the other things that we do, the other open source projects, but it is taken over. It's the Kabuki Starship sick bay. And yes, we are going to make an open source Starship, and you can contribute to this on GitHub, github.com/Kabuki-Starship. We got to make these things because we have a emergency coming up where tens of thousands of people at a time are going to be needed to hook up with these machines, and where they're sold out. There's no source of millions and millions and millions of ventilators. Like there's no like ventilator store, like a section aisle of the grocery store. Like they don't really like sell those. There's like maybe 20 at the hospital total. And so this is really, really bad news. The U.S. is preparing a response. All hands on deck. The National Guard, the Army, everybody. We're setting up emergency hospitals, and so we all need to get a coordination network. If you want to coordinate with our network, you can do so through GitHub at the website that I just showed you, the Kabuki Starship, where you will be able to find the code. This will be the code that can run the machines to save your life. We're also adding blood sensor measurements. Let me show you what we're doing. This is what we're doing. So you need to buy them, and we'll assemble them for you, because I know people in Eugene are watching this. You have to get one of these things. We have to hook you up to an alarm, and you need to go online, and you need to find some finger blood pressure sensors to measure the oxygen levels off of your finger. I can't buy these things for everybody in town, but every single person who watches this, you need to buy one of these off of eBay, a 7-pin oximeter, and we're going to hook them up for you. And then it's going to go into the alarm, and we're going to be able to monitor your oxygen, your CO2, and everything coming off of your for however many people we can. That's scary. That's some no-joke stuff. And I'm not making this up. I'm not trying to scare you at all. This is an emergency, life-threatening situation, and you need to be prepared. What's the next story here? From CBS News, What are the best treatment options to treat coronavirus? CBS News medical correspondent David August joins CBS Evening News for more of the possible coronavirus treatments pronounced by Donald Trump and what it means to be diagnosed with the virus. Let's go over these because it's going to be important. We got to go to their web browser. Oh, it's a video. Sorry, I didn't screen that. Sorry, I read the headlines. You can go to CBS News and just type in what are the best treatment options for coronavirus. And then I don't even have to go over it. Just watch it from that doctor. This is what it looks like. It's, fake news some of the time, but for right now, it's real news. Next story. The U.S. Senate will seek a deal on $1 trillion coronavirus economic aid package. The Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell introduced emergency legislation on Thursday to stem the economic fallout from the coronavirus pandemic, and Republicans and Democrats agreed to meet on Friday to seek an agreement. That is a one hell of a lot of money. I think they were talking about giving almost every single person in the country, or maybe every adult, and I think every person over $1,000. And I know if I got that money, I'm going to buy pandemic ventilators with it. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I myself definitely am thinking of other people first, and everything is getting dropped, and we all have to prepare to make sick bays. So if you can contribute to a sick bay, please do so at KabukiStarship.com. Next story from Newsweek. Shortly after first Rikers Island prisoner confirmed with coronavirus, 8 more showing symptoms. This is the problem with coronavirus. It stays on surfaces for weeks, up to a month. And it spreads easily, not as easy as some of the other pandemic viruses. Like SARS was spread faster. I can't tell you the exact rate that it's spreading at, but I think it's spreading at like something like 2.1, and then others have spread at like 5 to 10. So it doesn't spread as fast, but this coronavirus is one pesky virus. Boy, it is a thorn that in our side that is absolutely not going away here. You cannot ignore the coronavirus. This is as serious as a heart attack. This is as serious as a pneumonia, because that is what is going to happen to a large percent of the people. Imagine if 50% of people getting infected in the next couple of weeks means that 25% of your community, 1/4 of your community is going to get this. And of those people, let's take the high number, because whenever you're doing any sort of estimation like this, you do have to take the high number into account. And so what is that? 0.25 times 0.2. That's 0.5% of the U.S. population. If you take 310 million and you multiply it by that, you have 15.5 million people that are going to be needing to be hospitalized. And of those people, a large percentage of them are going to need ventilators. So we got a problem, bro. Like you gotta start ordering this. Order servos on the internet. Get any Arduinos that you can get your hands on. Don't hoard. Don't go out and like panic shop. Just buy for yourself. If other people aren't buying them, buy for them. But just buy for limited families. Go to KabukiStarship.com and you can find the bill of materials for the sick bay. Next story from NPR. Some stocks up on guns and ammunition during coronavirus because it's America. Fuck yeah. In some states, ammunition and gun sales have soared as the coronavirus pandemic grows. Lines have formed at gun stores as many gun buyers say they want to be ready for protection if there's a panic. Only in America, man. I don't know, dude. I mean, this right here, though. This is fucking America, dude. Yeah. Next story from Reuters. U.S. to Iran. Coronavirus won't save you from sanctions. The United States sent Iran a blunt message this week. The spread of coronavirus will not save it from U.S. sanctions that are choking off its oil revenue and isolating its economy. I have mixed feelings on this. I mean, there's one school of thought that says, okay, well, this is kind of like giving health care to illegal immigrants. We don't give health care to illegal immigrants because, well, we're supposed to bias the rules towards our native citizens and against foreigners, because if we don't do that, foreigners will just take over our country. But it's kind of every person for themselves right now. If you burned your trade relations with people in the past, well, this is why you should not burn your trade relations with people. You got what's coming for you. The United States also, too, is getting what's coming to it because we are so reliant on China for our medical supplies that we got caught off guard. China is hoarding all of their medical supplies for themselves, basically stuck up the middle finger and said, later, peace. And then they said, you're on your own, dude. They're all ours. That's what they said with their middle finger up. So it's on us. It's our onus. It's our own responsibility. That's, I mean, I hate to say it. I'm not trying to say that the people deserve to die, but it's on us. We outsourced our manufacturing. So we are that's what we get for cheap Chinese goods. Sometimes you have to die from pandemics, which is totally not cool, right? Next story from Newsweek. Vampire bats form bonds by regurgitating blood into each other's mouth. Whoa. Woo. I don't know why, but that triggered a response to drink coffee, dude. So they actually puke blood into each other's mouth to make friends and lovers? Wow. It says these long-term cooperative relationships between unrelated bats appear to be similar in form and function to human friendships. Oh, so different bat colonies? What does this say? It's kind of just rather interesting. The study published in the Journal of Current Biology, the researchers demonstrated how behaviors such as these can help build trust among unrelated vampire bats, forming bonds that can last a lifetime. These long-term cooperative relationships between unrelated bats appear to be analogous in form to and function to human friendship. Hi, my name's Kale. Can I puke blood into your mouth? Whew, that's a whole nother level, dude. I'm going to have to bookmark this story and next time I'm on a date with chick, just give her this article and it's hey, what do you think of that? It's wow, that's crazy. And be can I puke blood into your mouth? Pull out a razor, look like a Joker. Next article from New York Post. Ex-FEMA chief Craig Fugate storms out of MSNBC interview with Katie Tur. Former FEMA chief Greg Fugate had a meltdown on MSNBC, storming off after declaring that he did not have, quote, time to listen to bullshit people, and, quote, after another guest criticized his comments. A guest? A guest? I mean, maybe if it was the host, right? I don't know, man. I'm going to have to call him out on that one. The article says Andy Slavitt, the former acting administrator of the Centers of Medical Services, was disagreeing with Fugate about how much the feds should be involved in the response to the outbreak, the Hill reported. Fugate, who served along with Slavitt, during the Obama administration, argued that Washington should allow states to have a large role in the response. Quote, the myth of a single person in charge taking control and running this is a myth, Fugate said. This is going to deal with, on the front lines, local state levels. Each state is going to be addressing this unique to their systems. Yeah, the organizations, when you put them together, they're all going to be different. You're pretty much taking every single resource that you can and flapping it together, and then hoping everything doesn't break down. Okay, have you ever tried to prepare to have 20 to 50,000 people come at you at once? In 2 months? Maybe some months of preparation, right? Sure, but you got weeks, dude. Woo! Boy, everybody who's taking responsibility right now, you got to give them respect. Everybody who's manning the ship, everybody who is stepping forward to take responsibility and to help save our community, those people, we got to give them respect. We need to coordinate with those people and ensure that that their path is cleared, similar to how we pull over whenever there is a fire truck or police or ambulance that needs to go by. I think that now is the time to show your patriotism by taking care of your fellow citizens and by taking care of people who are taking care of your fellow citizens. Next article from New York Post: coronavirus in California, toilet paper alternatives cause sewer problems. Wastewater management officials in California said workers had to take action to prevent dangerous spills after the soiled fabric caused a backup. So don't put any sort of fabrics in the toilet. You need to take a shower, okay? I've done this back in college, back when I was completely irresponsible musician, hippie, rave kid. Back a long time ago, before I became a conservative. So I don't know. It's kind of surprising. I thought everybody in California just shit on the streets. I mean, that's what it used to. That's what it kind of seems like. It's like you wonder whether or not people even have toilets in California. What's the point, right? All the other people are just taking a dump right on the street. Why shouldn't you? You don't even need toilet paper. All you need to rub your ass on the ground and then just take your stained up underwear and then throw them in front of a business. That's what the homeless people do, right? Next article from Newsweek. LA residents still able to buy cannabis during California lockdown after dispensaries listed as essential businesses. As the world's fifth largest economy is placed under lockdown, Los Angeles residents will be able to buy cannabis from unlicensed dispensaries. Yeah, some people have a lot of pain. They need that stuff. Yeah. If you're going to sit around at your house for the next couple of months, you should probably go stock up on weed, because God knows they have massive piles of weed that are going unsold and they're having a discount everything else. Actually, you know what? I'm in Oregon and the prices seem to be about reasonable here. Some people think it's wicked cheap, but not really. Next article from Newsweek. People panic buying firearms is adding gasoline fire instead of protecting families, and gun advocates groups warn. We just went over this. I just wanted to stick another one of this in here because I just want to look at this picture. I mean, this is awesome, right? Dude's got a baby stroller, and then you got a huge line full of people, and they're like, what kind of race are these people? Let's look. Okay. This guy, he kind of looks Middle Eastern. This dude, he kind of looks Middle Eastern too, right? Then you got white dudes. Yeah, Yeah, looks like America to me. Fuck yeah. You should probably do that just in case anybody tries to break into your house, because in California, they stopped prosecuting people if you steal under like $930 worth. Oh, no, it's just San Francisco. If you steal under $930 worth of goods, they just don't prosecute you. And so people just come in and openly shoplift. Store people just look at them and they don't do anything. They just move on. Which is absolutely crazy if you ask me, dude. Like, I mean, they got to do something to stop that. That's absolutely not. What is the point of even paying to have police if when you call them, they don't show up? I guess their point is when people call them, they need to show up. And there's so many of these shoplifters that they need to stop prosecuting them. And then they're saying that that's justification for not throwing them in jail. If you ask me, that's just crazy. I personally have 2 felony drug convictions for possession of LSD and mushrooms in Oregon back when I used to be a raver hippie and a feminist beta male. And I'm not allowed to own firearms, but I don't care because I've had problems with depression myself, and it's much higher probability it would have been used on myself. So I'm okay with that. I think I can get my right to own a firearm back at my own discretion, but just don't care. But sometimes you need one. Next article from Newsweek. Spike Lee tells Trump to stop calling COVID-19 the Chinese virus. Says he's putting Asian Americans in danger. Quote, "This is no joke. It's not some movie. People are dying." End quote. Okay. So if you really think if you stop calling it the Chinese coronavirus, because that's how they name these things. They call them the Spanish flu, or what was the other one? There was another one. It's just something that people do. It doesn't even mean it came from there. In fact, it probably actually came from Singapore. You should possibly call it the Singapore coronavirus, because the way that these coronaviruses work, it's just like math. If the person's name is on the math formula, it means they didn't actually come up with it, right? Like Euler's formula or like Newton's method, right? Like, they all fit. All these people were working on these things and passing, exchanging information with each other. But the people in Singapore, they're showing a high resistance. And so when you look at the Spanish flu and you look at the rates that people died in it, what you can see is that there's a high probability chance that the Spanish flu actually started in China. It came out of China. Then it mutated in the United States and then turned into the Spanish flu. Is that racist against Spanish people? I mean, look, these authoritarian people are utter pussies when it comes to owning up to responsibility. Dude, like real leaders take responsibility for it. These authoritarian fucks, they all don't want to get punished because in authoritarian countries, they could get killed for messing up or tortured, or their family could be killed. So they don't own up to the responsibility when they need to, and they act like cowards. They do that. The Chinese are straight up acting like cowards. They're like, no, it was not us. It was a United States biochemical weapon. It was them doing maliciously infecting our country. It was not us. We did not have anything to do with it. It's like This is why they're weak and pathetic. They're only strong because they have so many people that it's a numbers game. Like at some point in time, a certain small group of people is going to end up with the same skills as us because they were able to come to our country and get the skills from us, and then use their Chinese spy equipment from Huawei and other companies that have backdoors put into their products where the Chinese government can spy on us. And that's the only way that they can compete is by spying on us and stealing our intellectual property, because they're weak, because they're authoritarians, and they're collectivists, and they can't think for themselves. But the only people that are actually doing goods are the ones who do think for themselves. And they seem to actually be pretty good people. I'm not talking shit about them. You know? They're making do in an authoritarian country. Like I got nothing but commends for them. But I'm gonna sit here and talk hella shit about the Chinese Communist Republic. What is that? They call it the People's No, it's the PCR, like People's Communist Republic. Like, these people are whack jobs. Like, the only way that they can actually keep their system afloat is by making people disappear. That's when you know you're weak, dude. See, our system is much better here in the United States. We have much more of a DARPA model. DARPA is the U.S. defense organization that is responsible for the creation of the internet. And the way that they created the internet was using a modeling system of a distributed network where you could take it out in nuclear annihilation, but the network is still strong. And this is not the case in China. China is very hierarchical. Like, everybody has a hierarchy that is very strictly enforced, because people are very, very, if you try to rise up in the hierarchy and you don't actually have the talent, like, people just beat you down. Like, they put all their efforts into the one kid who can make it, and then everybody else works in the sweatshop. And then you talk back and they beat you. China's brutal, dude. They're assholes. China's like asshole country. Dude, this is the problem with all these leftists, is they're all trying to be like anti-race. None of them want to sound racist. And so they all act like these like weak little pussy cowards sucking Chairman Mao's dick. And like, this dude's totally giving lip service to the Chinese. Yeah, fuck you, dude. Yeah. Fuck the Chinese, dude. They can fucking lick the shit out of my ass. No, the Chinese government. Sorry. People are cool. Although they went cray. No, their people went cray. I'm just gonna say, like, they're all on one, dude. Except for the ones who came to America. But then you go in private and they're gonna be snitching in you. Anything you say. Next article from Newsweek. Man proposes to girlfriend on beach during Spain's controversial lockdown, gets fined. Spain has declared a state of emergency with people not allowed to leave their homes except for a limited number of circumstances. My own personal opinion on this is, if I was going to propose to somebody and I might be dying here pretty soon, fuck you, man, I'm going to die, dude. Me and the girl are going to go down to the beach. I'm going to propose to her, and then we're going to have sex on the beach. Next article from Fox News Science. Greenland sheds enormous 600 billion tons of ice last year, scientists warn. A disturbing new study notes that Greenland lost the ice by the end of last summer, enough to raise global sea levels by 2.1 milliliters in just 2 months. It sounds small, but it's catastrophic. Well, you're talking about an average here. You got these systems. That's the thing. Everybody thinking just so simplistically of like, oh, it's just like one temperature. So it's like, it just goes up like 5 degrees. Well, temperature's nice here. I like it hot. We'll just like turn it up like 5 more degrees and then everything will just be fine. That's not how it works, dude. First off, the chlorofluorocarbons put that huge hole in the ozone layer. This caused half of the ice to melt. So we already had a problem. The problem was already really, really, really bad, and we didn't know it was a problem until now that we get the research and we can see with our new satellites that that half of it was gone now. And so this stuff's scary. We got to be able to cool the planet. I got a plan. I got a machine that can sequester waste heat coming off of your house with a refrigerator using this biomimicked ice lung and a thermal battery that can then store hot and cold in the ice battery. And it can also heat your house through some geothermal energy in the process of sequestering the carbon through the exhale process. It's a very miraculous machine. It's called an Oregon cooler here in the Willamette Valley. And you can find it at github.com/Oregon-cooler. We do have a website. It's OregonCooler.org, but we need help getting the website up and running. This machine is pretty cool. It can basically take the heat that's going out of your house, plug it right back into your house, and it is one of the most, if not the world's most efficient water heater. It extracts, it gets more heat out than you put energy into the system because it's extracting it from the cold water in the ground. Next article here from Newsweek. U.S. tests first hypersonic glide body challenging Russia's advanced nuclear weapons lead. The U.S. Navy and Army jointly conducted a flight experiment of what was revealed to be a common hypersonic glide body. Oh, I guess that's common. Which flew at the hypersonic speed at designated impact point. I knew this was coming. This is, if you're unfamiliar with this story, Russia has a hypersonic nuclear weapon that can not be stopped, apparently. Because it can travel like 20 times faster than the speed of sound, and you can't really just hit it because it's like it'll hit you before you're even aware that it's coming at you. And then it has defense systems. Like, it's crazy powerful. Not something you want to be messing around with at all. But we got our own. You got to give it to those Russians. They're pesky nemesis. You do got to give credit where credit's due. Even though they were loser communists, they still made it to the moon. They still made it into space. They still did a lot of stuff. And they didn't steal our technology like the Chinese. The Chinese seem to be the most pathetic ones of the bunch because they're communist. I'm just joking. They have really good engineering too. So they're not all bad. Actually, I buy a lot of stuff from China. So, man, you know, if you, I don't know what to do with any, like having that many people. I mean, India's doing just fine with democracy. India seems to be doing really fine. In fact, Indians are really smart people. I don't know what's up with these Chinese with this communist stuff. Like they're still crazy. It's like, you got to wonder, like, why are they like that? It's because they're weak. It's because they've been communists for so long that they can't even stand up for themselves. That's the most pathetic thing about communism. Is the only way that it runs is through a facade. It runs through a small portion of people living high on the hog, and then when you take pictures for foreigners, you go take them at these nice places, and so the foreigners, when they see media about your country, all they see is these nice places. But then in reality, when you peek behind the scenes, people are living in squalor. If you look at the houses people live in China, these cage houses is what they're called. These people live in what most people would call a dog cage. They sleep in it. And it's crazy. But they have so many people. All I could say is that I hope that they get their stuff together. Next article from Reuters. Wall Street sets for gains at end of blistering week. All three U.S. stock indexes were on course to open higher on Friday in what still the market's worst month in 3 decades, as intervention by U.S. policymakers finally seemed to stem the bleeding on Wall Street. The one thing you have to look at with the stock market is you just have to know every single time there's a downturn, there's always a bunch of people that can make money on the upturn. So it's a system that throws people under the bus. But again, our system is more like the DARPA model. We want to have strength in the network and not have to rely on some sort of hierarchical model like the Chinese do. Next article from Reuters. YouTube forgoes streaming quality to prevent European network buffering. YouTube will sacrifice streaming quality in the EU to help avert internet gridlock as tens of millions of Europeans confined by corona outbreak switch to working from home. I wonder if that's going to happen here. Because you're like, what are they watching Netflix? They're doing all kinds of stuff from work. Like watching porn while they're at work. Sending Snapchats to their boyfriend, naked pictures. Because that's what a lot of people do at work. If I had tits, dude, I'd probably be doing that at work too, dude. Next article from Reuters. Tourism restricted across U.S.-Mexico borders, says Mexican government. Mexican Foreign Minister Marcel Ebrard on Friday announced restrictions on closing for tourism at U.S.-Mexico border as a coronavirus contention measure, but the emphasis that trade, work, and medical trips would not be affected. I think the way that we have to deal with this pandemic, and please note that this is just my own personal opinion. I do know some things about virology, but not a lot. I just know enough, way more than most, like a lot more than most people. But what I can tell you is if we have to have a prolonged quarantine, these things could be multiple waves. Right now, we only have COVID-19, but the reason why the flu is so deadly is because it mutates. So you'll have many, many waves of flu pandemics. Let's thank God, if there is one. I'm not exactly atheist. I'm a member of the Church of the Infinite Supercomputers. I believe we're in a supercomputer. But let us definitely, at this point in time, if there is a God, let's pray to God that that our family is safe. If we have to close the border, it's a long-term thing. So you could say, okay, we shut everything down. We're trying to flatten the curve, as they say. But, eventually people are going to run out of supplies. They have to run out of supplies at some point in time. It's physically impossible to not do that. So we have to keep these routes open. So it definitely seems as though this is the appropriate policy. If you have any tomatoes, we need to buy them from you, any food resources, because we are dependent on them for that. But personally, maybe it's a good time to build the wall, right? I mean, look, we got so many people unemployed right now. People need jobs, right? Let's build a wall between America and Canada and America and Mexico, right? See? we can work this into our own favor, right? Because now you're starting to see, oh yeah, well, we don't catch 4 of 5 of the illegal immigrants coming across the border. One in 5 of them get caught by the Border Patrol Service. All these people are going to start carrying infectious diseases like coronavirus across the border. We got to flatten the curve by building the wall. Keep those filthy, stinking Canadians out who are stealing our jobs. Next article from Reuters. Airline faces reckoning as government helps comes with strings attached. Shattered airlines were left counting the cost of government support as countries from the United States to New Zealand set out conditions for bailouts needing to absorb the shock of the coronavirus pandemic. Yeah, everybody needs a bailout. Let me show you a startling statistic, actually. Let me pull it up here because I don't think it's on my desktop anymore. It's on my Twitter. Wait. Yeah, probably. Sorry. All right. So in the United States, women control 85% of consumer spending. They buy 91% of new homes, 66% of PCs, which I like. I think they're buying them for their families. But here's the number I'm trying to get at. 93% of food, of course, man. Thank you for that. I mean, this isn't all like, bad, That's great. But look at this one here. 92% women buy 92% of vacations. And we're talking airplane tickets and cruises for their honey, those romantic getaways that they want, that the dudes on the dating site are using as chat stuff to try to hook up with you. You're like, oh yeah, what do you like to travel? And then you talk about your travels, and then you like get with the girl and you make these travel arrangements and you go to these places. And then it causes 8% of our global warming emissions from these like mega yachts and airplanes. Or these cruise ships. And well, it's also our shipping too. Not just them, but 8%. So if you ask me, okay, women, you control 85% of consumer spending. Oh, wait, the other stat that's important. Women control almost 2/3, and you can say 2/3 of wealth in the United States. Apparently, they're underpaid. But you can't argue with these numbers because they come from a very legitimate source. They come from Walmart. You can, it's this girlpowermarketing.com/statistics-purchasing-power-women. And you can see all of these stats, and there's a lot of them that are crazy. Like, women have so much control in our country, and these feminists keep saying they're like underpaid and that like men are like holding them down. It's like, they're discounting all of the other revenue sources. They're discounting the amount of money that men pay, the easiness of them to have housing in college when they're most attractive and men want to mate with them. But women have all of this control over our economy. Like, they got us by the balls, dude. Like, we're dependent on them. If women stopped spending money, they would shut our entire economy down. But guess what? We got a pandemic going on. it's a good time to address these problems because it really is a fundamental inequity. We've got like almost 2/3 of college graduates are women. These women want to date up. They want to date men who also have good jobs, and these men are not there. They don't have good jobs. They're now scrubs. Now we have 80% of women now going after the top 15 to 20% of Twitter. Or Twitter, not Twitter, Tinder. And you got to look at this as like, well, why is this happening? Are the women really not attracted to the men? No, the men can't keep up with them. Fundamentally, the women, of course the women are attracted to the men, right? I mean, do they sit there around and talk? Like women, these feminists, like they say like men sit around and talk about boobs all day. Like just like a scary number of women say that. This is just crazy. Like men sit around and talk about women that they're in love with, and then they talk about like projects and like stuff with people, and then they don't talk about boobs. They talk about like some girl that they're like have a crush on. So like the feminists are making this seem like it's like it always makes it seem like the man is the one who's bad here, and then the women are always innocent. But as it turns out, they're actually in control. And currently right now, we got a global warming problem. 8% of it is caused by traveling around the world. So I think that it's time to take this shock to the system from COVID-19, and we need to transition into an economy where everybody's not going to die, right? Because the way our economy is set up is pretty bad, where people live in paycheck to paycheck. They're like, oh, I have to live for like 3 months now on my last paycheck? Have fun with that one, buddy. Yeah, right. They're even like making laws in all kinds of laws that you can't evict people until the pandemic's over, until after the pandemic's over, so that they can recover. And you can't. I'm not sure how the back rent works with these laws, but we're going to have to restructure everything. If the airliners are going out of business, look, they got all these 737s got some issues, man. These Boeing 737s, like the 737 MAX, like these things got problems on them, dude. So, I mean, maybe it's time to transition. Maybe it's time for the women to stop going on all these luxury vacations with the guys, right? Because what happens when women actually go on these luxury vacations with men? On these airplanes, that is relevant to this story. I'm not actually on a tangent here. What happens? What are they doing? They're getting pictures of them on vacation. They're having a good time. And then what do they do with these pictures? They put them on dating sites, right? And so they look for what? They look for men who also, too, have similar pictures from past relationships with women that they went on vacations with, because it's a marker that you are not a beta male. So your pictures are going to be control. Your travels are now in control of whether or not you have a girlfriend. Now, I am not into it, man. I think we need to shut down these luxury travel cruise agencies because, dude, 8% of global warming. Woo! 8% of global warming. I mean, for real. 8%. Wow. That's a lot, dude. Next article from New York Post, coronavirus crisis deadline for federal income taxes has been extended. Good. I think it was extended from April 15th to July 15th. Next article from Newsweek. China's race for coronavirus vaccine could produce an unsafe solution, former ambassador warns. Max Bucas said the hunt for a vaccine could be a double-edged sword if researchers rush for political gain. Yeah, totally. I mean, you can look at making of pandemic ventilators. Like, I don't know if you've ever tried to do a project before, but like, there's a bazillion ways to do a project wrong and bad. And what you say, everybody's going to come up with some wingnut stuff, dude. And people aren't going to want to listen. And people are going to want to start making money off of it if they can make money off the people because they're out of work, right? They're like, oh, I can make pandemic ventilators, right? So I can come up and make money. But then they start doing that and they start gobbling up supplies to make them. But they're making them wrong. They're not listening to the community. They're not coordinating with people. I'm experiencing this now because I'm making pandemic ventilators. And so what we are going to have a problem with supply chains. Everybody's trying to do all these things that require all of these large amount of resources, but now the resources are drying up very quickly. So we got to be smart about things. You can't just go throwing every resource at the book at this. Like you got to be really targeted. You got to work with your community. You got to work with the people who you are with, you got to work with the structure. You got to be like, I was talking schmack about Chinese, about being authoritarian, right? But me personally, I'm very strict with hierarchical structures because I run a business and it's just, I know that you have to do that. And that's why the Chinese are wrong, because you don't have to do that. Like, we have freedom and I'm still the asshole that they want me to be, right? Like, I'm the asshole dad that says, no, kid, you got to hurry up, kid, do it. No, I don't care. And then he's like crying, like, come on, buck up, kid. Like, that's what they want. That's what they're after, right? But they can't get it because their government is so authoritarian that they're like pathetic cowards. They could be so strong. Chinese are so smart. I don't understand this Chinese Communist Party bullshit. Next article from Fox News. A bulldog in England gives birth to 20 puppies. Wow. A bulldog in southern England has given birth to a litter that consists of 20 puppies. British news agency SWNS reports. That's just so cute. I had to put it in here, right? Look at that. That's so cute. 20 little puppies. Oh, I want a puppy. Next article from NPR. How the coronavirus, flu are alike and different. What are they saying? The symptoms, fever, cough, dry, fatigue, shortness of breath. These are most frequent symptoms of COVID-19. Some of the patients might develop aches and pains. Just 5% get the sniffles, according to the data from China, indicating that COVID-19 is not usually an upper respiratory infection. So it mutated and then it became an upper respiratory infection. That's probably why it's so deadly. These are all symptoms that of overlap with the flu. The CDC says that anyone who is experiencing these symptoms and who has been in direct contact with confirmed COVID-19 patient or who lives in the area with cases who are circulating should call their doctor for advice. To transmission, flu and coronavirus are both thought to be spread primarily through close contact with droplets expelled from the nose and mouth of a sick person. So you can come infected with direct contact, such as kissing, but also might just by close talking with somebody who is infected. The CDC recommends keeping physical distance of about 6 feet away from others. You should always pick up flu or coronavirus if you touch a tabletop or a phone that was coughed on. This, they didn't even talk about door handle. I mean, come on. I mean, everybody knows the door handle, but that's sloppy journalism right there. It was coughed on, but not disinfected in the past few hours or days. This is also too incorrect. It can be weeks, actually. It can last up to a month on surfaces. Then touch your eyes or nose or mouth. Data from the China also shows that coronaviruses seem to be infect around 2 to 2.5 additional people. That is higher than the flu. So it's more contagious than the flu. It is not as contagious as SARS was. That one was like 10 spread rate. The average percent spread of the flu virus is about 1.3, right? That's the same scale that I was just saying with SARS 10. Woo! Damn. It must be like an exponential spread rate. So you would have sigma n, and then n would be hold on. Yeah, 1 to the 1.3, right? Is that what you do? No, hold on. No, that doesn't make any sense. How does this work? It's you sum them up. So each time it grows by 1.3. That's your rate. Sorry. So it's sigma alpha x. And so that would be the alpha is going to be your 1.3. So each time your x is your infection rate, alpha x, and then you times it by 1.3, and then you add, and then each one adds 1.3 times the prior stage in a summation, sigma. And so 10 is really high. This one's like, what, 2.3 or something? So it's not as high as it gets, but it's made it all around. It's in Oregon right now. I wonder if some of it's coming from the China Post. But I have enough time to read one more article. I'm going to read this one. New York Governor Cuomo says 100% of the workforce must stay home due to coronavirus. I think most people who have to work for a living would say, there's no way in hell I can do that. Everybody who's looking for a job, online job boards are getting flooded. Everybody's looking for a job. People are going to start crawling out in the streets. Like when people are starving, they will go to lengths. We have to recognize this. I'm not sure if we should shut down our entire economy. There's two schools of thought here. We have a complete shutdown, and then we have a forest fire approach. And the forest fire approach to dealing with this problem is where you model it after how a forest fire would be fought. I fought forest fires most of my life, my adult life, before I became a father. And what you do is you build fire line. You use these natural breaks, and you dig fire line, and then you try to head off the fire. You try to burn the fuel out. And what you can do is you can do what is called a back burn. So it's a fire, it's raging. So you have to look at it from a standpoint of these people are going to get infected anyways. How do you lessen the strain on the healthcare system? So you could mimic this after a forest fire. I'm not going to say you should do that. But it is very scary. Every business, probably every small business out there is closing doors. They're pretty much done. Like businesses can't take that. Like that's a mortal blow to their business. Like a complete shutdown. I'm not sure, but the problem with overflowing our health centers far outweighs absolutely everything else. When we have like 5% of our community on ventilators, I think everybody else their wants and needs are definitely not coming first. But I'm over time. I gotta head out. Thank you for watching Real Simple News, hosted by Cale McCullough. And please start purchasing supplies to prepare to make these, what are they called? Positive pressure control ventilators. I went over it earlier. I don't have the thing in front of me. I don't know enough about it right now. But we should all be preparing for massive influxes of people coming into the emergency room. This is not a drill. I'm not trying to scare you. This is real life. But I've scared you enough for today, so I am headed out. Thank you for tuning in. So I hope your family does well. And aloha, sayonara, peace be with you, and Godspeed in your journeys.